Prepare yourself to be blown away by the seismic sounds and scrutiny of AFTERSHOCKS Podcast with Chris Aiken and Matt Hartnett.
All right, here we go. Well, welcome to another episode of AFTERSHOCKS on AFTERSHOCKspodcast.com. And joining me and Chris on the podcast today is the longtime guitarist and founder of San Francisco Bay Area power metal legends Vicious Rumors, who are set to release their 13th studio release titled Celebration Decay. It's out August 21st on Steenhammer. Mr. Geoff Thorpe. Geoff, thanks for calling, man. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Awesome, man. Hey, well, first off, I got to ask you, of course, I'm sure you're dying to get out there on the road to promote the new record. But of course, especially for veteran musicians like yourself, you got to tame that road warrior mentality right now a little bit. I'm sure it's got to be real difficult. How are things going with you during this whole pandemic so far?
I'm doing okay, man. There's a lot of other people, I think that, it's a frustrating situation. A lot of people are hurting right now, and of course the entire music industry and entertainment industry for that matter, but it is a strange situation. We were on tour in Europe when the hammer came down, and so we did 2 shows, and then everything got canceled, and kind of found our way back. So it's just it's something we all have to go through together. So we're trying not to, be too stressed out about it. I mean, it's a super frustrating position because we're so proud of this album. We put so much work into it, and we're ready to, to come out and just, rip everybody's heads off with it. And we will do that when the time is right. But man, for now, we're just hanging tight like everybody else, trying to do the right thing. And put this thing behind us, man, so we can get back to business at hand, which is heavy metal always.
Sure, man. No, absolutely. And, Celebration Decay, yeah, talk about the new album. I mean, excellent record, man. It's got a lot of that classic Vicious Rumors sound. I believe you mentioned in the press release, a lot of that had to do with the fact that you guys were playing a lot of those classic songs from Digital Dictator when you did the 30th anniversary tour for that record last year. And on this record, you got Greg Christian came on bass for the record. Of course, he's from the Classic Testament lineup, and also it marks the first recording with your newest guitarist Gunnar, as well as vocalist Nick Courtney, who were both part of that 30-year anniversary tour for Digital Dictator. Now that you got Nick, especially the band, I mean, he marks, I believe it's the band's 10th vocalist, and I think it's about the 8th since the tragic passing of Carl back in '95. So how's the revolving door of vocalists over the years? Is that attributed to you guys maybe not feeling like you found that ideal replacement for Carl all these years, or is it more that you just prefer to switch things up on all the different records?
It's certainly not that I prefer to switch things up. It's just that, man, when you start with one of the greatest singers of all time with Carl, it's hard. It's a hard benchmark to meet, my friend. And but with that being said, I think that I've had a really good eye for talent and worked with a lot of great musicians and singers over the years. The thing is, we're just focused in Vicious Rumors. Like our train is barreling down the tracks. We know what we want to do. We have a plan. And, we're just very focused on it. It's not that really that we're that hard to work with or anything as far as Larry and myself. It's just that we know what we're doing and where we're going. And, and we love it when we have a great team together and people are on board with us. But, in life, people change directions. People get other ideas. And, and there's been so many people in and out that we're kind of used to it now, and so it's like we just look at it like, hey, if it happens, then we want to embrace the next situation and just move forward. And it really, for years now, it hasn't really stopped us or slowed us down or anything. I mean, it is a break in momentum once you get a lineup, and then you get someone new. There's a little bit of, recreating the momentum, and that's the part that's really frustrating. But Nick and Gunnar have done a fantastic job in the band, and yeah, definitely going on tour and playing 108 shows or 110 shows, whatever it was, doing that Digital Dictator classic album and classic set definitely put us in touch with, the classic sound of Vicious Rumors again, playing that set so many times. And really with us, I mean, we're really not, we were not in really like an experimentation mode, man. We wanted to make a badass Vicious Rumors album, a classic heavy metal album that was heavy and driving, exciting, and took you on a ride. And we wanted, lyrics that were heavy and powerful enough to match it. And it's been great, man. The fans have really took to Nick. And he's just a great performer and singer and super cool guy. So he's just a really likable person and good persona on stage. So it's been great, and same with Gunnar. He's really young, but he's just like a virtuoso guitar player. I hired him at 18 years old. He's the youngest I've ever hired.
Damn.
3 years ago, I hired him at 18 years old. He went from his friends were in high school, and then that summer they went fishing and played football. Well, he went to Germany and played the Bang Your Head Festival. 20,000.
Wow. Where'd you find him?
He's up in the Northwest, up in the Portland area. And his dad was a good friend of our former singer and I.
Okay.
Very cool.
Cool.
Geoff,
and so, yeah. Yeah, go ahead, man.
No,
sorry.
you go ahead. You're the one that they care about, not me.
No, it's just, it's just been great having Gunnar on board, and him and Nick really worked hard on that tour. And there's no doubt that I think that this album, compared to the last couple of albums, the last 3 studio albums, I did all the rhythm guitars, pretty much the harmonies and the guitar orchestration. That's a big thing in Vicious Rumors. We always have like 2 guitar parts that when you listen to them together, that makes the one guitar section, And it's been great having Gunnar be part of the band. And on this album, I recorded my parts, he recorded his parts. We have that natural stereo. I mean, it's cool to have one guy do everything. It's bone tight that way. But it's also very cool in a band when you have both guitar players playing each of their parts, because that's really the true sound of the band. And so it was a lot of fun, and it was a lot of hard work. And so I'm really proud of the record. The guys did a terrific job.
Sure. Now, Geoff, you mentioned in the press, or at least let me put it another way. The press mentioned in the press that you were surprised by the interest that there was for Digital Dictator. I'm going to ask the obvious question. Why? I mean, between that and the self-titled, I think most people point to those as the pinnacle moment of the band. It seems surprising to me that you were surprised that there was a lot of interest in that.
Well, I mean, if you would have told me, 30 years ago that, when when Digital Dictator came out, that if you would have told me 30 years ago that Vicious Rumors is going to do 100 shows on this album 30 years later, I mean, I probably would have thought, wow, I got to start thinking more positive, that's a great way to think.
Right.
But I was just, like I said, we just, we plan to do this, kind of a little special thing, like, 20, 25 shows. And it was going to be kind of a special reunion and celebration of this record that I'm really proud to be on a record and part of what created that album, that's been so well received all these years. It's real special for us. And, but to have it turn into, from a month and 20 shows to a year and a half and 108 shows, it was great. I mean, it was a nice surprise, and I appreciate that comment. Thank you.
Sure. And you know, going forward to the newest release, to a Celebration Decay, it's very clear that you know, you were in that mode when you wrote it, because there's a lot of elements from digital, or maybe even stuff like the self-titled or Welcome to the Ball, but at the same time you kept that ferocity that you've had basically since Razorback. You know, it's a really more than a lot of your stuff in the catalog that kind of pinpoints a place and time for you. This is almost the most retrospective sounding release that you've ever done.
Yeah, we kind of went back to that, you know, classic guitar sound, that more kind of earthy. And you know, I've been working with Juan Ortiaga now for since the Warball album. So we've been, you know, producing together these albums at Trident Studios. It's been great working with him. And yeah, you know, we just we wanted to stay true to ourselves, because I think in heavy metal, that's the worst thing you can do, is just try to be something you're not. I think fans can see right through that instantly. And so, you know, man, we just wanted to be true to ourselves. We wanted to make a great Vicious Rumors record. One of the things that's you know, convenient, I guess I'll say, about having a band that's been around this long is that, you know, we have a style, we sort of have a sound, and we've got elements that make that when you hear, I think if you know Vicious Rumors, you instantly go, oh yeah, that's VR, you know? And so we wanted to like tap into that, but still, you know, keep this, you know, got to keep it heavy, got to keep it powerful. And, you know, I've been writing these songs for years. I wrote so many parts and riffs during the time that it took to get to this album. And also the great thing about these new guys is they're super creative also. And, you know, Gunner's got so many ideas for parts and songs, and Nick also very creative. So it was fun for me to have guys that I could collaborate with and count on. They're both like also very serious musician types. And so I don't got to go chase them down or anything, or, you know, anything like that. And like a few past members possibly, but that's all colorful and exciting too. But it's been good, man, you know, and I appreciate you guys noticing all the details about it.
Sure, man. You know, and one thing too, Jeff, you know, about Vicious Rumors, you know, I've noticed over the years is, you know, you guys are one of those metal bands that does most of its performances, you know, in business outside of its home country, outside of the States here. You guys are huge overseas. And usually, unless you're playing, you know, pretty much locally out here on the West Coast. I mean, I know you guys did do a tour last year for the 30th anniversary for Digital Dictator, but I mean, most of your most of the shows you guys play are usually overseas, especially in Europe. And it makes sense, obviously, to direct your time and energy and all your assets over there, you know, as well, because that's where your largest fan base is. And it's something I kind of noticed over the years, a lot of bands that come out of the Bay Area, you know, up here. I mean, although it's, you know, the proximity to the markets like in LA, Seattle, and Portland are, you know, they're a huge plus. It's pretty difficult for bands to break out of here domestically, you know, but globally it's a different story. I mean, just recently over the last 10 years or so, there's been some bands out of here like Orchid and even Spiral Arms, you know, who had Euro bassist there, Chris Lombardo. You know, there's a great band that did well overseas, had trouble back here. What's your hypothesis on the reason that you think, you know, overseas in Europe, it's just so much more prevalent than it is here in the Bay or just in general in the United States, especially for like power metal, the stuff you guys play? It seems like to me, if you're from, you know, San Francisco, if you're a thrash band, you're going to get a lot of notoriety. You might get a lot more press because of the historic you know, background of Bay Area and thrash. But with a lot of other genres within metal and hard rock, it seems to be like you almost have to go overseas to kind of, you know, make it.
Well, you know, you know, I think that if I was going to pick like one thing that causes that, I would just say that in Europe, when other trends of music get popular, people tend to will embrace something new, but they don't forget about what they have always liked. Whereas I think sometimes trends in America, will come, and then people embrace like this new trend, and then they kind of forget about what they used to dig or something like that. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's hard to put my finger on it, but I think that's really it. Like, because also when you look at like festival lineups over there, they're very diverse. There's a lot. You see lineups over there that you don't see over here because of the wide variety of styles that people, support over there. So I think that for me, I think if I was going to pick one thing, I just think it's that Europeans tend to still love what they always loved, even if they break into something new. They don't forget about what they dug before that came along. So I think that's it. I'm only a guitar player, so I really don't know exactly, but I'm going to go with that. And as far as like, being from the Bay Area, it's funny, man. When I think about back in the 80s when we were all getting started, and, Metallica and Vicious Rumors and Testament and, Death Angel and all these bands were playing, we all just thought that we were local bands in a local scene, and the same, just like in maybe every major city in America or around the world. And I don't think any of us at that time had any idea that the whole world was going to look to the Bay Area at that time for this incredible, movement of thrash and power metal that came out. Vicious Rumors being, pretty much outside of that clique of Testament, Exodus, Death Angel, that kind of thing. Those real thrasher bands,
Sure.
we've always had like elements of thrash in our stuff, but kind of took a more like arena approach to our heavy metal, coming from a background of like being Led Zeppelin fans and stuff like that, with Larry and I.
Sure.
But yeah, man, it's it's definitely helped the band to be from the Bay Area at that time. It usually comes up in conversation, and I'm proud to be part of something that was so special.
Sure.
Vicious Rumors and the 80s scene in the Bay Area. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Well, speaking of the 80s scene, Jeff, both you actually and Chris here actually have something in common, and that you're both featured on the soon-to-be-released documentary Inside Metal, the Bay Area Godfathers, which, of course, it was done by, a good friend of ours, Bob Nalbandian, who I co-host too on his podcast. And I've been lucky enough to actually, I seen a preview of the film, and it's great. And, what I love about it more than anything is that it focuses on a lot of the Bay Area scene before Metallica moved up here in 83-ish, I believe it was. And one of the other things that stood out to me was I got to familiarize myself with a lot of those bands that were from the Bay Area that were a big part of the scene prior to that thrash explosion. Bands like Stone Vengeance, Anvil Chorus, Broke His Helm, Overdrive. I mean, just so many bands that were, from here that was so good. I mean, and, I know you guys started in the tail end of the 70s there, where you started going with Vicious Rumors. In your opinion, what was the scene like, prior to Metallica arriving? I mean, does it sort of, because I know some musicians from back then sort of expressed their, I don't want to say dismay, but maybe it irks them just a little bit, the fact that the Bay Area is known as Metallica, like they were the one that put the Bay Area on the metal map, but at the same time there was such a scene going on before they even arrived, yet no one really talks about that. I mean, what was your experiences like?
Yeah.
Or just talk a little bit about, I guess, the days prior to Metallica arriving.
Well, I think Metallica put the world on the map. I mean,
that's true. Yeah, good point.
They blew it open so wide. It's unbelievable. But it was a real exciting time for me because I grew up in Hawaii, and and I loved Hawaii so much. And really, when I was a kid, my goal in life was to, get a job at a gas station and go surfing every day. And my life would have been 100% complete.
Nice.
100%, Then I started playing guitar, man. And all of a sudden the island got so small, and I just got bit by the bug really hard. I went to LA to visit my sister, And I just asked her to take me to a couple clubs, like just, hey, I'm really into music. I want to start a band. You know, can we just pick a couple of nights you're available and we'll just go see some local bands? It doesn't even matter who. And she was like, sure, you know, all right, we're going to pick this night and this night, this night. We picked 3 nights. So the first night, saw a little band in LA. I've never seen an all-girl band before. It was a pretty cool little band called the Runaways with Joan Jett.
Sure, wow. Mm-hmm.
And they just totally blew my mind. And then the next night we went, and there was another local band in LA playing called Quiet Riot with a guitarist named Randy Rhoads.
Wow.
And so that guy just completely blew my mind. And then the last night before I went back to Hawaii, there was another little local band in LA. You might have heard of them, called Van Halen. So, and you know, I basically went back to Hawaii thinking like, okay, every time you go out in Los Angeles, you're going to see someone on the level of Randy Rhoads or Eddie Van Halen, you know, or Lena Ford, you know, just so it ignited my passion to even, you know, get away from Hawaii even faster. You know, it just blew my mind that I just happened to see these guys. And when I got to the Bay Area, man, I mean, it was like, I didn't have a band together. I made 1,000 business cards with the Vicious Rumors logo on it. And I just went to clubs and I just started passing them out to people and meeting people. And, you know, 3 or 4 months later, it was like, hey, there's that guy from Vicious Rumors. I didn't even have a band together yet, but that's how I got things started. And the great thing was there was like 7 in San Francisco alone. There was like probably 7 music venues with live music 5 nights a week and an audience to support it all. So it was just this incredible bussing scene, man. It was just blowing up. There were bands everywhere, lots of great musicians. I remember we did a gig with Joe Satriani when he was in the Squares, this little local band at the time. I mean, it just, you know, Kurt Hammett was in Exodus at the time. And, you know, it was just like, it was a thriving scene with almost more music than you can imagine and with an audience to support it. So, yeah, it was magic. It was a magical time. There was live music everywhere. And from there, it just, you know, kept getting stronger and stronger. The old Waldorf, which was Bill Graham's nightclub, was the probably like premier place for metal bands to play and stuff. And they established this thing called Metal Mondays. And, you know, we were doing gigs with Motley Crue and Metallica was coming up. All these bands from basically the whole West Coast, and there was enough probably bands in the Bay Area to keep that thing full for months. But yeah, it was a great time, man, and I can see why the San Francisco Bay Area is a place that's had these kind of explosions throughout history. You know, in the 60s, they had this like beatnik jazz kind of thing that blew up. Later, in, you know, the sort of the psychedelic rock thing happened with the Airplane and all that type of things. And then in the 80s, this, you know, sonic explosion of thrash and power metal. So it was just it's a special area for music. And yeah, it was incredible to be there at that time.
Sure. And you know, it's another interesting thing about that, Geoff, is that even once you're not only Vicious Rumors, but a lot of those bands started to hit and started to get the MTV play and everything, you guys always still stayed very cool. Like I remember running into you at either the Stone or the Omni. I don't remember which one it was. And you couldn't have been nicer to me. And this is when Don't Pray For Me was, you know, on MTV. And I remember that, you know, even to this day, I remember that. I remember running into the Death Angel guys, you know, all the way up to when Act 3 was hitting, and then they turned into the Organization, and they were always cool. It just always seemed like, unlike a lot of other scenes, once the bands made it, it's almost like you guys still appreciated who helped you make it.
I would say definitely, you know, like when you're talking about bands like Vicious Rumors and Death Angel, you're talking about guys that, you know, are really running on passion, man. You know, we love this stuff. I mean, we're also big fans of the music,
Right.
and so you know, I think it's sad when you're such a huge rock fan and you meet someone that you've admired for their music, and then they come off in a negative way or something. I just think that's so disappointing. And but I appreciate those comments, man. Again, thank you. You know, it's just, we love this stuff. We love heavy metal. We love the fans, and we're fans ourselves, you know? So,
right on.
I guess there's that saying, like, you know, if you love your work, you don't work a day in your life.
Right.
But in this case, you work every motherfucking day.
Exactly.
But it's okay because we love it.
Exactly, man. Well, dude, one of the things I did see about Celebration Decay, I know we're jumping all over the map here, but I did see that you're releasing a 3-part mini documentary on the creation of it. What's that about?
It's, you know, it's just it's not super fancy or super in depth, but it's just, we got some clips from the recording. I got, you know, a little interview with everybody involved, from the musicians in the band to Juan Ortiaga, and of course our guest bass player Greg Christian, good friend of mine. It's just comments from everybody about what happened and about what we did, some of the things we did during the process, and it's just a little insight to what happened to make this record. And that's actually, I just turned that in to SPV yesterday.
Okay.
So that should be coming out very shortly. I think it's in 3 parts. It's about 6 minutes. Each segment's about 6 minutes, 7 minutes, something like that. And yeah, you know, without touring, we just you know, wanted to do as much as we can to just stay in front and stay current. We made a couple great videos already, and there's going to be more news about that coming up on SPV. And, you know, I've been working with SPV now 10 years, man. It's been the best relationship I've ever had with a record company. So they've been doing a great job. You know, it would have been very easy for them to say, hey, you know, we're not going to put out, you know, the album this year, or, you know, we're not going to do anything, or who knows, you know, because it's such a volatile time in the world. But, you know, they kept going with us, and it was important for us to get the record out, because, I mean, if we're not going to tour, at least we can give, you know, everybody some new music to listen to and kick out some of these videos. And so, yeah, man.
The Vicious Rumors train continues.
It's one of those things.
Exactly, man. Well, Geoff, obviously the new album is called Celebration Decay. It is fantastic. If you're a Vicious Rumors fan, you just don't even wait. It's October. It's August 21st, right, when it comes out?
That's right.
All right, awesome. And why don't we do this, Geoff, so that we can give people a little taste to encourage them to buy it instead of just lamely listening to it on YouTube or whatever. Why don't you give us a song, whatever you think would be the best song to tease them with, and we'll play a little bit of it to wrap the interview up.
Oh, man, that sounds good, man. Well, I'll tell you what, I just want to say, man, for one, thank you for you guys for keeping metal rolling, and thanks to all the fans for sticking with us all these years. This is a song off the new album, Celebration Decay, called Pulse of the Dead.
All right, nice. Out right now. It is Vicious Rumors, and this is Aftershocks.
Only torment to
Thanks for listening to Aftershocks. For more episodes, go to our website at www.aftershockspodcast.com. Visit us on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages for more news and information on the podcast. And be sure to subscribe, listen to, and review all episodes on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all other podcast platforms. For your music listening pleasure, visit our website or go to www.shockwavesradio.com. For all comments and questions, please email us at info@aftershockspodcast.com.